I'm gonna try to do a bad job here.
A bad job, a good job at a bad job.
Exactly. So, climbing up to straight arm. Hey, Coach Renee here, Coach Tom. We're here at Origins Parkour and wishing a warm welcome to all the parkour nerds out there. We're gonna dive into some parkour theory today, and today we're talking about the climb up, of course. Now for your climb up, and one of the things we want to address today is just the purpose of the climb up and really what we're trying to do with it and a problem that occurs when you get away from that. So the problem we're looking at is if you're pulling too much up the wall as opposed to pulling yourself over the wall. When did this start? When do you think this started to happen where people started to pull up more than they pulled forward?
I think it actually started really early on in the climb ups development. I mean, the very first climb ups that were happening, you know, David Bell or some of the Yamakasi, maybe they're using elbows. They're finally starting to get to using their hands. But it wasn't until around probably 2007 or so when climb ups started to develop beyond that point. And I think it was actually a big achievement to pull directly straight up and catch with straight arms. And so that became the standard climb up for a really long time, is you wanted to pull straight up, get as tall as you can, and then snap your hands over, and then you're on top of the wall. And that became the standard, but now, 2021 we're in, and it's actually a massive misconception about how the climb up actually works and what our goal with the climb up actually is.
Okay, so do you want me to show them what we're talking about?
Exactly, yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to do a bad job here.
A bad job, a good job at a bad job.
Exactly. So, climbing up to straight arm here.
Yes, exactly.
I didn't finish the climb up. There is another part to it.
No, there is another part. But yeah, so as you saw from Coach Renee's demonstration there, he pulled the wall, or he pulled himself very tall all the way up, thinking about basically getting the top of his head as high as he could, and then he snapped his hips really close to the wall. And this creates a number of problems. And the first problem that it creates is that he's actually catching with straight arms, which the next part of the movement is a top out, which it's actually harder to do with straight arms. I mean, you have to be strong, and it's still possible, but it's actually going to slow you down if you're trying to do this for speed. And just a quick little aside here, most of the movements that we do in parkour are intended for speed. That's the original purpose of it, and if you understand the original purpose of it, it's easier to apply those things into different scenarios. So
it's easier to get that freestyle if you understand the speed first, sometimes.
Yeah, agreed. So I mentioned the first problem, which is straight arms. So a straight arm top out is difficult to do quickly. And then the second problem really is the hip position. So hips for him, for Coach Renee here, very close to the wall.
I'm gonna get back
get up
into that again.
All right, he's gonna do it again. Snap. So his hips are very close to the wall here. This is another problem because now he's gonna have a lot of trouble pushing or jumping off of his feet. He can still do it, but really what the position he wants is he wants his hips back away from the wall so that he's able to be in a position to actually press into the wall more effectively. And if you notice, actually, take a look, let's make him tired really quick and have him hold it for a few more seconds. But if you see his shoulders are actually really leaned forward over the wall. So when he pulls his hips back, his shoulders lean forward. The top out is a Kong-like movement. And for it to work well, you need to be leaned forward. So we talked about getting those arms straight is not ideal. We also talked about having hips close to the wall as not being ideal. Are there any other issues that you can see with this type of climb up?
Well, I can do it. I can do like a worm top out.
A worm top out. Oh yeah, you could. Yeah.
But I can't do a proper top out. And yeah, for me, I think that's the main thing and the main issue we're trying to address here is just not being in an optimal position, having to reset a bit more. So instead of having that nice fluid one motion climb up, you now are making it into two.
So I want to talk about this in terms of what the actual problem is. So the problem isn't necessarily, oh, you're just doing the climb wrong. The problem is that you're not setting yourself up for mounting the wall properly. And that problem is framed in terms of the direction of pull. So back in 2007, when people were doing these climb ups, they're like, oh, I'm getting the standard climb up, I'm getting all the way up to my hips. That's exactly where I want to be. The direction of pull, everyone was thinking this way. You want to pull straight up and then just kind of snap forward. But we have since evolved the climb up, and it's no longer at least at the highest levels of climb up, it's no longer considered the standard. So what we really want to think about is, instead of pulling directly straight up, we want to think about pulling forward. So we're trying to pull our shoulders forward over the wall. And in concert, we want to think about pushing our hips away. So there's like a half moon style of trajectory of the hips. Mm-hmm. So the hips kind of stay close, and then they come back. Once you catch on top, then they come forward all the way on top. So think about it. We want to actually move our climb up in this direction so that we can utilize the push with our feet against the wall. Should I demonstrate a full climb up?
Good.
All right. So
I can't do these properly.
You can. Okay, so again, I'm pushing back and then pulling forward.
I think one of the things too that so that feels powerful, but I think the reason why a lot of people also get into that straight arm position, you got a call there with our cameraman over here. You good?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. They get into that straight arm position because it feels powerful. Mm-hmm. Like you pull and you're just like, yeah, I get to here. Whereas shorting that, because you do have to kind of short it and pull yourself forward, doesn't feel powerful until you do the whole thing. So it's like the power target should be how quickly you can get your feet on top of the wall into a power position, rather than how well you can get to this position.
How high you can pull. Yeah, exactly. Like it really feels powerful to just like snap up super high like that. But in that position, as we mentioned, it's harder to get into that top out quickly, and that impedes your flow and slows you down. I guess just to give you something, to leave you something, a way to think about getting on top of with the climb up, instead of thinking of pulling straight up, just think about trying to get your face over the wall, face and shoulders over the wall, before switching your hands. And if that happens, then you're going to be much better set for a top out to move quickly out of it.
All right, should we get out of here?
I think we're done. You can go call your friend back.
See you later.